Gilroy agent to know what's going on. If you're in the room and would like to ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll bring the microphone to you. That way those on Zoom can hear you. If you're on Zoom and have a question, please just click the chat and put your question in, or you can raise your hand by hitting the reaction button at the bottom of the screen. It looks like a little happy face, and then you can raise your hand. I can call on you and you can unmute yourself, and then everybody can hear you as well. It is interactive. Please ask questions, and please know that they'll go over this, just started today. So we'll probably have them back in a couple months once Morgan Hill figures out what they're doing with their city, and have some more answers of probably how long this takes and things like that. So again, questions, raise your hand on Zoom, raise your hand in person. Please wait for the microphone, that way everybody can hear you. And without further ado, we've got Travis and Anton.
Thank you, Jody. Oh, for sure. Hi, guys. Welcome to our Home Guard sewer lateral training. Home Guard has been around for about 30 years now. We've done well over 1 million inspections, and we think that sewer lateral and the water conservation ordinance is actually something that is needed in this area with our infrastructure. So we're adding that on. A little thing you may not know is that the water conservation ordinance is actually just going to be in Morgan Hill for now. Am I right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah. And it is actually included in our sewer lateral inspection at no additional fee. So when you order one, you get both. We've done home termite pool inspections, roof inspections, and now we're adding the sewer lateral. I would like to introduce Travis. Travis is our sewer lateral inspection chief. I call him that, but I'll pass it over.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Travis Palzer. I'm actually the VP of operations at Home Guard. So I'm actually in charge of all inspections at the company. But I just recently got started on the sewer lateral. This is a new service to us. It's new to everybody here. If you've been in San Mateo or Oakland, sold homes in those areas, then you might have some familiarity with the sewer laterals because they've already had some ordinances going on in some of the peninsula cities and East Bay cities for a while now. But I'm going to go into more detail for all of you because it's new to the South Bay. So let's first talk about what is a sewer lateral. I mean, most people may not know what a sewer lateral is. And is there anybody here who's had work done on a sewer lateral before? Anybody? Yeah. So you might be familiar. Does anybody here just not know what a sewer lateral is? What it is I'm talking about? There you go. See, so it is a new thing. And it's one of those things that's out of sight, out of mind, right? That's the big thing about the sewer lateral. I'm going to get this forward here. I'm going to kind of draw this out a little bit for you so you can see what I'm talking about. But when I say it's out of sight, out of mind, it's because it's underground. It's something you'll never see. It's not included in your home inspection. The home inspector is never going to take a look at your sewer lateral. So why is that? So I'm going to draw a house. I'm not the best artist here, but I can diagram it out here. So we have our house here. We got all our plumbing underneath the house. That's what we call our DWV, drain, waste, vent plumbing. That's the plumbing that is taking stuff from your bathrooms and your sinks and getting out of the house. And then we have a pipe. It's referred to as a sewer lateral. And that pipe is separate from our DWV system, drain, waste, vent system. And that is our sewer lateral. And this is what's taking everything in your house out to the city. So here we would have a city sewer connection. That's usually typically in our street. Most of the time, that's where we're going to find it. Sometimes maybe it's in a back alley if you have an alleyway or anything. But all that waste is coming out here to the city. So this pipe is generally about 3 feet deep here, about 5 feet midway, and it's about 8 feet deep where it hits the street. So that's your typical depths. So you don't see it. And this leads to an issue. When we have problems here, you don't know it until it's too late. And once you know you've got a problem, you got a really big problem. And that means there's a big blockage somewhere along here and stuff is coming out of your bathtub. Stuff starts pouring up out of your bathtub, out of your sink, out of your toilet. That's a bad sign. That's a big issue. Or you may see in your front yard, you'll have a little pipe that sticks up out of the ground, maybe a foot up out of the ground. That's called our clean out. And that clean out is for the sewer lateral. Stuff starts coming out of here. That's also a really bad thing. So this is one of those things that nobody just knows about until we've got this problem. And, you know, when you're a new buyer, you're buying a home or you're a homeowner, and you're going to sell that house, You know, it's not cut, like I said, it's not covering your home inspection. So you get in there 6 months later, stuff starts coming out of here. And now you got yourself a $20,000 repair bill, because fixing these issues can be very expensive. Why are sewer laterals so important? Why is it that the city is making such a big deal? Is because these things are old. A lot of the times, depending on where you are, if you're in Oakland, San Mateo, some of the areas that have had houses built in the 50s, the 40s, the 60s, all those sewer laterals are here are made out of clay. Clay will last 10,000 years under the ground. But the thing about clay is it's brittle, it breaks, it moves. It does not move very well at all. So when it moves, it cracks. And San Jose, Morgan Hill, Gilroy, we have a lot of trees, right? We have laws that require us to have trees on our property in our yard. What does that do? These trees, like I said, I'm not the best artist here, have all these roots that start to grow out, and the impact on our sewer lateral. They affect that, especially if we have a small little crack. Got a little crack, maybe a little break here. Water starts to come out of our sewer lateral. That attracts the tree roots. The tree roots sense the water, the moisture in the soil. So they start to grow towards that. And so they'll grow right to the pipe. They'll go in the pipe and they'll start to junk up inside there. And you get an obstruction and all that sewage backflows rather than going out to the city. It backflows. And that's why you start having stuff come out of your bathtub. And that's why it's important. And because we have all these old lines, the cities, are they going to fix it? No, the city's not going to fix it. They're not going to take care of it for you. They don't want to have anything to do with it. They're struggling enough just to get their own street lines fixed. So what are they doing? They're creating these ordinances and forcing it on the homeowner. They're putting it on us. They want us to take care of it. So Morgan Hill is one of these places. You are responsible for the sewer lateral from here all the way out to the street where it connects. San Jose, you're responsible. Santa Clara, you're responsible. All the cities here in the South Bay make you responsible for this line, even if it's in the middle of the street in what we call a public right of way. So if we have to dig this up, we're now getting into a really big job because we have to bust up concrete. We got to knock up the street, take the asphalt up, got to dig out that pipe, put it all back. That involves lots of permits, encroachment permits, which require special contractors with special licensing in order to dig up in the street. So that repair bill, when we're on our property, maybe it's 10,000 bucks, but we're in the street and now it goes up to 20 or more, depending on how much we have to dig up. So it's very expensive, big ticket item. And again, it's one of those things we tend not to notice or think about until it's too late. So this is why we want inspections done on the sewer lateral. And this is why the cities are starting to make us do these inspections, passing these laws. Okay, so let's talk about Morgan Hill. I'm going to show you some stuff on their website here. The process. So what is it that they want done? So Morgan Hill wants an inspection done. So it's before close of escrow. They want the inspection taken care of. Okay, point of sale. We inspect the line. We look for problems. We find those problems. We report it. We write it in a form that we submit to the city. We have to give them that form and provide them that form with a video. And they want to see that video. Okay, there is a form we have to fill out. Let me show you. This is our private sewer lateral form from the city of Morgan Hill. They want all the property owners' information. They want all of our company information, which we will provide. And they want us to be NASCO certified. So you can't just use any any plumbing contractor to have this done. You have to use a plumber that actually has what we call NASCO certification. NASCO is the National Association for Sewer Service Companies. So you have to have that certification. All of our guys have done that course. I've taken that course. We've gotten our certification. So we are, we got this golden, what they call the golden standard of sewer inspections. We've got that certification and we're qualified to report what we find and what defects we notice inside that line for you. So everybody has to be NASCO certified. They also have to be a plumbing contractor. HomeGuard is a plumbing contractor. We have our plumbing license. So the company has to be NASCO and a plumbing contractor. So just make sure whoever you use, hopefully it's us, but if you do use someone else, make sure they have those licensings. Otherwise, the city of Morgan Hill will not accept the inspection from them. Okay. Yep.
Another thing, for the city of Morgan Hill, in particular, they actually have to have a business license inside.
They do. They do have to have a business license there, which we also have as well. So the next thing we're going to fill out on the form is we're going to give them some general information. Morgan Hill wants to know a few things about the sewer lateral. They want to know the size of the pipe. They want to know what type of material. Now we're talking Morgan Hill. So you have some areas where you have some older homes, but most of Morgan Hill is newer. So most of what we're encountering there is plastic. We do see some cast iron, and we do encounter some clay in some of the older parts of Morgan Hill. The good thing about plastic, it lasts forever. You know, it doesn't crack very easily. It can bend, it can move a little bit. So that is the nice thing about plastic. So that's what everybody's using nowadays. If we're going to make a repair or any sort of work's done, they're going to put in a new plastic line. They're not going to use cast iron anymore because it, you know, it starts to degrade over time. It only lasts 50 to 100 years, depending on what's going on. And it starts to clog up, kind of like an artery. As it rusts out, it starts to clog up over time and things catch on there. And then we have an issue of a clog starting to occur. So cast iron was used 70s and 80s a lot of the time back then. So if the house is built in the 70s or 80s, it may not be plastic, it may be cast iron, okay? The other thing they wanna know is, do you have a clean out that's accessible on the property? Has to be accessible, meaning outside, somewhere where we can easily get it inside a box, sticking out of the ground, can't be in the crawl space, can't be, you know, through a toilet in the house. They want an actual accessible clean out. So if you do not have one of those, we can still do the inspection going through the toilet. We can pull a toilet, stick our camera in there and try to get into the sewer lateral from there, but you are going to be required to install a clean out. The city of Morgan Hill will say this is mandatory. You have to do that. What is the cost for that? $3,000 to $5,000 to install a clean out. So where are you going to find no clean out? Houses built prior to 1970. They're built prior to 1970. They likely do not have an exterior clean out unless someone's done work on the plumbing at some point in the future there and installed one and put one in. Okay, so be aware of that. We must have the clean out. The clean out is a 3-inch pipe. It's going to be about this big. It's not the little 2-inch ones. We do have these little 2-inch pipes that stick out of our wall right next to our bathroom. That's just a clean out to get to that sink or that bathtub to unclog it. Okay, that's not a sewer lateral. The cameras will not fit inside there. Okay, so the other thing they want to know, does your lateral cross any adjoining property? Does it go into someone else's land? So we'll have to check for that. They want to know, does it actually empty out in a public right of way, meaning the street, or does it empty into a sewer line on private property? They're going to want to know that. So we have to answer that question. Is there more than one structure connected to that sewer lateral? They want to know that. So we have to tell them that as well, okay? And then, do you have a backflow or backwater valve? What is that? A backflow, backwater valve, going back to my diagram here. That's a little valve that's usually installed right around here, just outside the house. And it prevents things from coming back into your house. That's the whole point of it. It's a little valve that has a gate that sticks up like this. So anything coming back towards the house hits that and cannot actually get into the house. So that is to prevent all the stuff and junk from coming up out of your bathtub if you have a clog in this line. That's what the backflow is for. So they ask for that. Do we have that installed? So we do check for that. A lot of cities are starting to require this to be installed on the home. And that installing one of those, again, can be $1,500 to $3,000. So it's expensive. So they want that installed. So we'll check to see if you have one, which it's good because we don't want that stuff backflowing into our house. I'd rather have it come outside on the lawn from the clean out rather than inside our house. So that's what a backflow is, okay? And the last thing they want to know, does any sort of drainage, you know, the gutters, any sort of storm drains, does any of that stuff enter our sewer system from our lateral? That's a no-no. We don't want that because that overloads the sewage system. Storm drains and storm water is not supposed to empty into our sewer system because it does create an overload when we do have heavy rains and heavy water, okay? So what does this all sum up to? We have to tell the city of Morgan Hill, does your sewer lateral pass or fail the inspection? And this is one of the only reports HomeGuard issues that actually states pass or fail in it, okay? So we're gonna tell you that if your lateral is up to the standards or not up to the standards. And we're going to look for those defects, and then we're going to give you a recommendation and give you a bid on how to fix that and what the cost of that is going to be. So we will provide that and we will do the work. You have a question over there? No problem. I don't hear you, so.
Check 1, 2. Okay.
Yeah, it's working.
I was just gonna ask, does it have to check every single one of those boxes in order to pass? Or
No, we
is
don't
it
have
like
to check them off,
you
no.
4 out of 5 or?
So what is going to fail it? If we have any outside drainage connections, that's going to fail. So if we have a check mark in that box, that's going to fail it. Does it have a property have a backwater valve? That's not going to fail it if you don't have one. So far from what I've seen, Morgan Hill is not failing it, because Morgan Hill only requires that backwater valve if you're on a property that is lower than where the sewer main is, right? Because then you have a flow issue there, right? Where you could have runoff come back towards the house. So usually when the house is lower than where the sewer line is, that's when some cities will make it mandatory you have that backwater valve. But again, some cities just say, I don't care, we don't care, you have to have it. It's required on all lines. Morgan Hill is, as far as I know, not one of those cities. They haven't come out on anything that yet. Another question there?
So does the, if your report says pass, does that mean the city will pass to, or is that two independent things?
That's a good question. And that varies by city. So some cities have higher standards than NASCO. And then there's some cities that have lower standards than NASCO. Morgan Hill has lower standards. So you may get a report from us. On our inspection report, it says fail, because NASCO standards says this is a fail. But on your city form, my guy might fill out that it's a pass, because Morgan Hill actually has lower standards than NASCO currently. So there, some examples of that are if it's a sag. If there is a sag in the line, a sag means, you know, it kind of goes like this and the water just sits and pools in an area in your lateral pipe. Your lateral should always have a downhill to flow that water out, right? We want to use gravity to get that water out. So should always have a downhill. Sometimes when they install it or through movement in the soil, the pipe starts to sag down and water just sits there. That can create obstructions because stuff as it goes through your lateral just sits there and collects. So it can create a problem. Now by NASCO standards, that's a fail. Any sort of sag, we have to fail that pipe and say you need to fix that sag. And by fixing it, they dig it up, they prop it up, and then they put all the soil back, or they just replace it if there's some other issue going on with the pipe. But Morgan Hill doesn't care. They don't. They told us, we went to the city, we had this issue come up, and the city said, yeah, sag, we're fine with sag. What, in their opinion, what's going to fail it is down here on this part of the form. They're looking for specifically broken or missing pipe joints, cracked or fractured pipe joints. They're looking for infiltration or exfiltration. What does that mean? That means water, outside water is getting in, or water is leaking out. So that is usually caused by a crack, a break, a hole, or a separation in the joint. So if you have infiltration or exfiltration, there's other issues going on, what we call structural issues with the pipe. So they're looking for that. They're also looking for roots. Roots is one of their big concerns. They want all roots addressed. Now they're a little vague in that they're saying any sort of roots is a fail. But by NASCO standards, if I have what we call, I'd say like a less than 10 or less than 20% obstruction with roots, we'd call that fine or medium roots. That wouldn't necessarily fail by NASCO standards, but Morgan Hill says it's a fail. So you can see there's the cities and the NASCO standards don't kind of correlate all the time. They're a little off, even though Morgan Hill wants us all to be NASCO certified. They want us to have that certification. They require it, but they're not even following NASCO standards. So I don't know what the deal is there. That may change over time. Who knows? We're all kind of learning what's getting rejected and what's not at this point. I can tell you Oakland, for example, way above the standards in NASCO. Almost everything in Oakland fails. I mean, it just, I don't think I've encountered a passing pipe in Oakland yet. So there's a big difference depending on the city. So like I said, if you're going to sell in different areas, make sure you study up on the different requirements. Question there?
Curious, who's NASCO
The
and
national,
who, yeah, maybe that will answer it.
yeah, they're the National Association for Sewer Service Companies. They're kind of like ASHI for home inspectors. They're a national association. They are literally the golden standard across the globe. They are a standard followed by countries all over the world. A lot of companies inspect to those standards. Engineering firms use those standards. So they are very, they know their stuff. They're not, ASHI's kind of small compared to these guys. These guys are massive and huge and across the world, and they kind of have developed the standard on how to inspect or report on pipes, any sort of pipe, a sewer lateral, the city pipe under the street, the big giant ones you could drive a car in. They cover all that. So that's why it's important that you get an inspector who's been certified or passed through them, because it's actually a pretty big certification, pretty big deal in the sewer world.
And we have a question on Zoom as
Okay.
well. Does this apply to mobile home sales located in Morgan Hill or in different communities, or is this just for single families?
It's not going to be mobile homes because a mobile home community is set up differently. You don't own the piping, the sewer lateral. That's not part of you as an owner, as a mobile home. You're connecting to that, right? When you bring a mobile home, you're connecting to their sewage system, their electrical system, with the connections from your mobile home. So it would not apply to that. And it doesn't apply to condos or townhomes either. They actually, Morgan Hill has separate guidelines on that in terms of having the entire HOA have the entire complex inspected. So if you're going to inspect it, the whole HOA, everything has to be inspected. It's one system. They consider it one system under the HOA and condo. Question there?
So if you are buying, a house there, is that the first thing that you should tell the buyer? One of these, it looks like this is very important in the transaction process.
Mm-hmm. It is, and it's going to be disclosed. It has to be disclosed. Morgan Hill has made that an issue now, that you have to disclose as the buyer because you have to get the inspection done. The seller has to do the inspection. Okay, so it's going to be required to be done by them.
So before you list the property too, you have to have done this inspection.
You're going to want to get it started. I'm going to show you a flow chart on how
before
this
that, real quick,
this is working.
Travis, Morgan Hill does have a transfer of responsibilities.
Yes,
so
I was going to get into that.
Oh, perfect.
Yes. So there's a flow chart here. I'm going to go over this so you can kind of see how this is working. So point of sale flow chart, we have our initial inspection done by a qualified contractor. That's us. Contractor means plumbing contractor, not, your standard contractor. It needs to be the plumbing contractor, and they need to be NASCO certified. So if we fail, we have to get the repairs taken care of, or the buyer and the seller can agree to transfer responsibility or repair. So we can do that. We can disclose to the buyer and say, hey, I have a bid here for $18,000 in work. Maybe you give them credit, however you negotiate that. And then the buyer signs this form that Morgan Hill has, that responsibility transfers to the buyer. The buyer then has to do the repairs within 180 days after they close escrow. So they've got 6 months. They've got some time to get it done. Morgan Hill was pretty generous in that time frame. A lot of cities in other parts of the Bay are only 90 days. They don't give you very much time at all. So then we transfer the responsibility, or if the seller does perform the repairs, after repairs are done, we do a second inspection. Morgan Hill wants another inspection done after repairs are completed. And then if we pass at that point, we go to this side here, we pass, seller submits the inspection form for city review, city issues compliance certificate for sale of property, home can be sold. Now, if the transfer goes through, home is sold, buyer makes the repairs in 180 days. There is some, I guess, special cases here. If home is sold without inspections, buyer submits acceptance of responsibility to inspect and repair form. So the buyer has to submit that if somehow the home sold without it being done. I don't know how that's occurring because as far as I've read the ordinance, you have to do the inspection. So I guess maybe there's some that slip through the cracks, or if they find out it slips through the cracks, they may force you to do it. Or if the home sold is exempt. There are exempt homes. So what is exempted? 15 years or newer is exempted, does not require inspection. Okay, so that's the magic number, 15. Yes, also think if you had your sewer lateral fully replaced, brand new, it's permits on file with the city, it was done already in the last 15 years, they're okay. You're exempt. You don't have to get it done. Okay, so lots of new homes in Morgan Hill. So lots of homes that don't necessarily need to have this inspection done. Okay, so 15 years is the magic number on that. Okay.
So you have the exemptions, 15 years and all of this. And if responsibility is transferred to the buyer and these repairs are not done in a timely manner, what happens?
Who knows? We don't know yet what's going to happen on that. I'm assuming based off of some of the other cities that we've worked with, fines may happen. I know Santa Cruz will fine you.
What I've been hearing is that they are passing around a notion of just shutting off your water supply to the house. So you don't want that angry phone call from your new buyer,
Interesting.
your new homeowners in the middle of the night. They're taking a shower and the water gets turned off.
Yeah.
So yeah, be aware. I have a couple questions. I'm going to go Lawrence first. I'm going to go over here and then over here.
Hi, I was just wanting to piggyback off of one of the previous comments where you were saying condos, townhomes are not required for those sales, but you mentioned HOAs. So that triggered the thought of sometimes there are homes that are set up as a single family type residence, but they're part of an overall HOA.
Yeah.
What about those?
As far as I know, those ones you're going to have to get done because in those cases, those HOAs aren't going to be responsible for that sewer lateral. You know, they're not going to check your CCNRs to see what they say, but in those cases, they're not responsible. It's a single family dwelling. So, and I don't know, maybe you have a townhome where the HOA for some reason is not responsible for the lateral. So always check. I mean, just double check on that. If they are responsible, and in most cases, your condos and your townhomes, the HOA covers the full lateral. So
I've actually had an agent selling two houses, one at each end of the block. The front end of the block, the HOA covered. The other end of the block, it was not covered. Same area,
There you
so
go.
be aware. We have a question over
So-
here though.
Yeah, I had the same question regarding condos, townhouses. They're exempt in Morgan Hill to get that inspection, or is the HOA required to get the inspection prior to close of escrow?
it's a whole different ordinance. And as far as I know, the HOAs are supposed to be getting these inspections done.
So if we have a property that we're selling, we're at the timelines of the HOA to get the inspections done before close of escrow?
I don't have an answer for you
Yeah.
on that one. That is, like I said, this is new. These are special that may be what these special cases they're talking about are, because the HOA is going to have to negotiate that, pay for it, get it done. I haven't seen anything on that.
I think I've done deals in Santa Cruz and I thought totally that is exempt, the condos and townhouses in Santa Cruz. But you're saying Morgan Hill still has the HOA requirement of inspections.
There is ordinance in terms of getting inspections done for HOAs as an entire system. They may be exempt from the time of sale purchase, and they have it being handled separately, kind of like Santa Cruz, right? They have their own inspections that they're requiring the condos and HOAs to do, but it doesn't hold up a real estate transaction. So that's something you'll have to check with the cities on for Morgan Hill. As far as us, we haven't really looked into that because it just hasn't applied to us in terms of doing the condos. So we've looked mostly into the single family because that's where the homeowner is definitely responsible for it and we have to do it. So check into that and see how it's going. More questions?
And then we're gonna continue, and then we're gonna go with more questions. But as far as HOAs, check your CCNR.
Yep. Always
Sorry about that other thing,
Oh, no worries.
everyone. Let's see, how long for the city to issue a certificate of compliance if there's a pass?
From what I'm hearing, 5 to 10 days is what I'm hearing
Okay,
from people having already started to do this. And that's what the city has said. They're trying to stay on top of it. They've changed some things up to make it a little faster. At first, they were requiring us to bring in the forms. The homeowner or the real estate agent had to carry the form in and with a DVD to the city. They've now changed that. They've revised it. Now they've got an email box set up. You can email the form to the city, and then they'll send you a link to provide them the video to a Dropbox. So that's what they're doing now. So that's speeding things up for sure in terms of the submissions. And they're saying that it could take up to 10 days to get through and look it over to certify. So
and then do the certificates have a life, if you will? So let's say you bought the house in 2022 and you sold it in 2024. Do you still need to get one every single time, or is that certificate good for X number of years?
5 years, I believe, is the number. Yeah. And that's what most cities are doing, is 5 years for your certificate. Now, again, unless your house is within that 15-year span, then you have however long it takes to hit that 15-year mark. And then some cities, it's 20 to 25 years. Morgan Hill went 15. Don't know why they chose that number, but that's what they did. My experience has been 20 to 25 in most of the other cities in the Bay Area. So we do have that. Now, in terms of low flow, let's talk about what we call a low flow or a retrofit for the water conservation. Now, it's a retrofit in that it applies only to homes built 1994 or earlier. Okay, so when we're talking about the water conservation retrofitting, 1994 and earlier is what the magic number is on that. And this is their water conservation form. It looks similar to that sewer lateral form. So what do they want done? They want us to check all of our toilets and all of our showers. And if your house has a urinal, I think I've only ever seen one urinal in a private residence in my entire career inspecting, but if it has a urinal, it also has to meet the standards for low flow. Okay. And that would be what do they consider low flow? So if you have a 1.6 gallon per flush toilet, you're okay. That's considered okay. We don't have to change anything. That works fine. The shower heads have to be 1.8 gallons per minute. That's how much water coming out of there. That's that flow rate. So how do we figure that? We have a container. It's a quart, 1 quart bucket. We hold it up to the shower head. If it fills up in less than 8 seconds, you do not have low flow. So it has to take a little bit longer than 8 seconds to fill up that bucket. And then we know you have 1.8 gallons. Just simple math to figure that one out. And then the toilets, easy enough to check. A lot of them are stamped. They have a little stamp on there that says 1.6 GPF, gallons per flush. So you can take a look at your toilet and see, do I have it? If you don't have it, then we have to install new toilets. We have to put new shower heads if your shower heads do not pass. And we will tell you if it passes or fails. We'll tell you which bathrooms failed in terms, did the hall bathroom toilet not meet the standards and we have to replace it? Did the guest bathroom shower head not meet the standards and we have to install a new shower head? And then we will also provide you a price to install that shower head in that toilet. And what do we have to put in? We have to put in a 1.28 gallon per flush. So we don't install a 1.6, we install a 1.28. But they're saying if you have 1.6, that's okay. Now in California, you cannot buy a toilet that is more than 1.28 gallons per flush. It's illegal in California to sell those toilets. So you will not find them for sale anywhere unless you're going to a private yard sale or something. Someone's selling their toilet. So, so that is the one thing. Same with the shower heads, 1.8 gallons, mandatory. They have to be sold 1.8 or less in the state of California. Okay, so if you go to Home Depot, you buy the right shower head and you throw it on, it's going to be 1.8 gallons unless someone went in there and removed the little gasket inside there. And people do that. They buy brand new shower heads and they remove it. And then they say, well, I bought a 1.8 gallon a minute shower head. Why are you failing me? Well, because you took the gasket out and it's filling my bucket in 5 seconds. So I know it's not 1.8 Okay, so keep that in mind. That's what we're looking for. It's a simple inspection. The sewer lateral inspector is just going to check all that stuff. They're going to write it up into the sewer lateral report. It'll be in there, and then we'll fill out this form and give it to you as well. Similar to how we do with the sewer lateral, we fill it out, we provide you that form, and then you email it in to the city. And then they give you their certificate on that. So it's very simple. This is only required in Morgan Hill for now. I'm sure other cities will follow. Santa Cruz does have an ordinance like this, but they do not require a plumber have to check this stuff. The real estate agent can check it and sign a paper saying my house meets those standards. Okay, so that's why most inspection companies don't do this, is because in Santa Cruz County, the realtor can just say yes, it meets the standards, or no. Okay.
Went to a couple open houses this morning, and a couple of the agents there had gotten this done separate from the sewer lateral inspection, and the plumbers charge them like $150 to $200 to come out. When you get the sewer lateral, which is required with the city of Morgan Hill and some other cities, we do it for free. So it's included into the package. So save yourself and your client some money.
Yeah, it's just included as part of, we're just packaging it all as one service at this point. And as far as other ordinances, I mean, in Santa Clara County, Morgan Hill is the only city with any sort of ordinance at this point in time. Does that mean it's not going to change, or it's more coming? It's coming. I can guarantee you it's coming. Just because we have almost all the peninsula cities at this point are doing it. And almost all of the East Bay cities are doing it at this point. So it's just a matter of time before San Jose passes an ordinance, Santa Clara passes an ordinance. So look, you know, by getting yourself educated now and being familiar with it, you're already ahead of the game. So that's good that you came here. Any other questions at all regarding this service, regarding anything, I can answer those for you.
Over here.
Does the inspection have to happen is it triggered by a sale of a property, or does it have to happen after the certificate is expired?
That's a good question. There are actually several triggers depending on the city. Morgan Hill, it's point of sale. That's what they're asking for. But San Mateo, Oakland, a lot of the other cities, they're going to require you to do it with renovations to your home. So they're saying, if you go above San Mateo, it's like $90,000 in renovations. You have to have your sewer lateral checked. Oakland, it's about $90,000. I've seen some cities have $70,000, and then they're going to require you to get it done. So do keep an eye on that. Renovations, major renovations can trigger the sewer lateral inspection. And $70,000 is not a lot this day and age in terms of renovations. It's not a major remodel like it used to be, not anymore. So, I mean, you could remodel a bathroom and a kitchen, and boom, now you got to do your whole sewer lateral. The city, when you go to apply for a permit and you're doing that renovation, they ask you to declare the dollar amounts and stuff like that. So if you get a permit and you're putting that declaration at more than 70 grand, they're going to come and say, hey, have your sewer lateral checked and let's get the work done. And if you're in San Mateo, I can almost guarantee you're going to need work on your sewer lateral unless it's been done. Those anywhere in San Mateo County, anywhere up the peninsula, unless it's a newer house or it's had work done, the sewer laterals are in rough shape. They're not in good shape. We're encountering a lot of broken pipes, a lot of offset joints where the joints have separated, roots coming in, blockages in the pipe. It's a mess up there. So, and if you're buying a home, or if you have a buyer that's getting an inspection done in a city that doesn't require sewer lateral inspections, encourage them to get it done, because it is a very big ticket item if something comes back later. In Los Angeles, in Southern California, we've actually been doing sewer laterals down in Southern California for a while now. And that's because every real estate agent there on the buyer side makes their client get a sewer lateral inspection down in Southern California. And that's because of the aging infrastructure. It's old down there in SoCal. Most of those houses in LA City, San Diego, they're all 1940s, 1950s. So that's why they're getting it done. So I encourage that. Any other questions?
Is it mandatory to get is that mandatory to get 2 forms done at the one time, or is optional?
For Morgan Hill, it's mandatory. Yes, absolutely at this point.
Is included complimentary with the sewer lateral inspection, but how much, did you guys mention how much is the sewer lateral with Home Guard?
The sewer lateral is $295. Yeah, and that's a going rate. It's actually a little bit less. There's some plumbers that are charging more than that to come out. But it's the going rate, I would say, across the bay is $300 to $500 for a sewer lateral. Yeah. Question?
So say you're doing an inspection and you find 90% or even 100% root blockage, let's say 10 feet from the house, which is maybe half the distance to the street or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you ever encountered where you, first of all, will you make sure and do a full extent inspection through that all the way to the street? My question is really, have you ever gone to fix one problem and you later discover there's actually more and it escalates to a higher dollar amount?
Absolutely, happens all the time. It is very common to run into a situation where we have a blockage in the pipe, roots. Maybe it's just an obstruction in the pipe or an offset even. The joint has offset so much we can't keep going. And our camera head, it's just in the bottom of the pipe and it's about this fat around. So it's just pushed along the bottom. It's just pushed. The guy just is pushing that camera right through the pipeline. And when he's pushing, if it hits something and it just can't go any further, that's it. We're done with the inspection at that point. We take a picture, you have the video showing that, and you have to get that fixed. Anything like that, obstructions with roots that are blocking, I would say 40% or greater of that pipe is going to be an automatic fail. Anywhere it's going to be an automatic fail, and it's going to have to be fixed. So we need to spot repair that. What we do is called a spot repair, depending on how far out it is. If we're 10 feet, like you said, that's a spot repair. So we're going to give you a bid to dig that section up, replace that section of pipe, and then we're going to run the camera again. And we don't charge for that. That's a further inspection. So we're not going to charge you again to run the camera, but we'll come out, we'll run that camera again. And if we encounter additional issues down the line, so you could have more problems, you could run into more issues. And we've had it happen on several jobs already.
So my message then to agents representing a buyer, do not negotiate that the buyer pay for those repairs because the seller's already skipped down the road. Your buyer thinks he's on the line for 5K and it turns out to be 20K.
Could be a lot more.
Yeah.
Or ask the buyer, have the buyer get a bid on a full replacement just to be safe. If you're running into an obstruction 10 feet out, there's likely going to be other issues. I mean, more than likely, you're going to run into additional offsets or additional blockages down that line. And we had one recently where we replaced 10 feet, I think it was like 8 feet of pipe just in Oakland because there was a blockage. So the contractor replaced 8 feet. Put the brand new 8 feet, went to run the camera. 4 feet farther down was another big offset. So, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. We didn't know about that, so we did what we were paid to do and we checked the line and we hit that obstruction and now we had another problem. And at that point, it was the homeowner was like, well, what's the cost to replace it? So we gave them a cost to replace it and they just decided to replace the whole thing at that point. And that you can always opt for that. If you don't want to go with the bid or the repair being provided and you think, maybe you'd rather just have it fully replaced, ask for the bid to just give you a full replacement. In some cases, that could be cheaper depending on the situation. If we have a nice straight shot to fix our line, like we have here in our diagram, just a nice straight shot from street to home, we can use trenchless equipment to fix that. And that trenchless equipment, we dig a small hole over here by the city connection. They dig a hole. They dig another hole by the house. And they literally just take a hydraulic system that just busts out the pipe, the old pipe. It literally just smashes it out as it goes through the ground. And as it's going through, it's pulling a new pipe behind it. So it's pulling that new pipe behind it. And then it gets here. You just make the connection. You make the connection, done. You have a nice new plastic pipe. And I didn't have to dig up from here to here, saving a lot in labor. They can do it for everything. They'll bust out cast iron. Yeah. They'll bust out. Yeah, that hydraulic system is extremely powerful. So now where we can't do this is if you have a house on the top of a hill and that sewer line goes whoop, whoop, like this. And then disconnects. And we've encountered this too, where the sewer line, it literally just winds around and turns. If that happens, we're digging the whole thing up. And that's going to be extremely expensive, because digging is where the labor comes from, is the digging and stuff, and then the backfilling. And we backfill, we put it all back. We try to do our best to get the landscape back the way it was. If there's concrete, well, now we got to add in the cost of busting up the concrete, pouring new concrete. So that's why it's encouraged to really just get this data, get this information, because it's expensive.
A question about trees and sometimes ownership of trees. Have you guys run into anything where it has been a city tree that has had roots come onto the property where it is your sewer lateral, but it's the city tree, or a neighbor's tree, maybe that had more invasive roots? I don't know if we
haven't
go
heard of
legal
that.
at that point, but I'm just curious if you guys have seen that.
I haven't heard of that. I mean, a redwood tree, and some of these trees can have roots that could go way out there, right? I mean, it could be a house over and the roots could come over. So I don't know how you would approach that. I mean, I'm guessing it's your lateral, you're responsible for it. That's all the city cares. They don't care if it's their tree in the boulevard there or not. You're responsible for it. Oh, absolutely. Roots can, absolutely. Yeah. Now, if you want to take it up in terms of who's responsible for that, that's sounding more like you better contact the lawyer.
Does this rule also apply to 2 to 4 units or even 5+ unit multifamily units?
It does. So commercial and multifamily, they are applying it for that. It does. So
And what about homes that have, let's say they have septic tanks instead of sewage?
does not
Then-
apply to that.
Then it doesn't. Okay.
No. So septic it's its own thing. You're going to be getting your septic guy to come out. The septic guy is going to do his inspection and check all the thing. It's not even, it has nothing to do with the city sewer system, so they don't care.
Caveat to that is that water ordinance is still in effect.
Yes, the water ordinance, that applies to all homes no matter what. I mean, that you don't have to, septic or not, the water ordinance would still matter. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? The city list. Yeah, let's talk about that. So I do have a PDF. I spent many hours and lots of coffee putting together this list. I had to literally look through almost every single city in the state of California to find out what ordinances are in effect. So what does this list have? This is an Excel spreadsheet I made and I turned it into a PDF. I'll go back to the top here. At the very top, the city. So that's obvious, the city. Recs. What's recs? Does the city have a requirement in effect? So if it's yes, there is some kind of requirement with that city. Let's check it out. If it's a no, it's the wild, wild west. Don't matter. Don't have to do anything. POS, point of sale. So is it a point of sale requirement? Most of them, it's yes. There is a case of some where it is a no, like Belmont, you can see there. It's not a point of sale requirement. And then C36, this is your plumbing contractor license. It's a C36. So does the city require someone to have that license? They'll say yes or no. DVD, that simply means video. Does the city want a video submitted? So yes or no on that. A form, does the city want any sort of form filled out? Some cities don't want a form. They just want the video. Some cities want the form and no video. And some cities want both. So everybody's different. There's so much difference across there. Then test. What is that? Let's talk about that. If you have to work anywhere or sell a home anywhere in East Bay mud, you are going to deal with this. This is the test. And it's a verification. It's a leak-free verification, meaning your sewer lateral cannot leak whatsoever. And how do we verify this? How do we know? We plug in, we take a plug. Our contractor takes a plug, sticks it here, sticks another plug here, plugs up the whole line, and then we pump it full of water or air up to 5 pounds per square inch. So we're going to pressurize that line. And if it starts to drop pressure, that means there's a leak somewhere. Okay. So that's what they want. You have to pass that test. So it has to hold the 5 PSI for X amount of time. without dropping. Okay, so that's what that leak-free test is. And in Oakland and in most cities, they're going to witness it. The city is going to come out and watch the test be performed. So you have to schedule the city to come out, pay them money to come out. You have to pay the contractor to do the test. That test can run you $500 after already having done the sewer lateral inspection. So you got to do the inspection first because you want to know if there's any defects. You're not going to pay the city and for the test when you know you have issues there that are not going to pass. You're going to get that work done first. Once the work is done, then you're going to do that test. And I mean, everything has to be fixed in this case because even a small crack could leak and could cause a problem. So that's where I say Oakland is the strictest of them all. East Bay Mud is got the most stringent requirements in that they require that test to be done and it has to be leak free. Okay. Now witness, that category, like I was saying, does someone have to be there to witness the test or the inspection? Castro Valley, if you sell a home in Castro Valley, the homeowner needs to schedule the city to come out to witness our sewer lateral inspection first. So you got to go to their website, you got to put your address in and see if your house is in their district boundary, because some of Castro Valley is actually not in Castro Valley under their sanitation. So you have to check that. Then you got to pay them $230 to have someone come out and witness us, Home Guard, do the sewer lateral inspection. They want that done. So that's just Castro Valley. Okay, so that's important. We take a look at these fees. Do they have a fee associated with this? A lot of them do, can range from $70 to $300. And then there's some cities that have no fee. Morgan Hill doesn't have a fee. So some cities are nice, they won't charge. Full lateral, this was something that I started to research, did not finish yet because I found the majority of every place here requires it. Are you responsible for the full lateral from end to end? In the South Bay, East Bay, everywhere else around this bay? Yes, you are pretty much responsible for that lateral from the house to where the city. Where I found that you are not is over in Sacramento. You start going out into Central Valley, there's a lot of Central Valley cities. You're only responsible for the portion of the lateral that's on your property. We call that the upper lateral. And then whatever's in the city property is called the lower lateral. The city will fix that and is responsible for that. Now, again, that's really only Central Valley and Sacramento through all the research that I've done.
So we have a couple quick online questions, but I did write my name, my email on that. So if you want this list, email me and I will email you the list.
That was one of the questions so I'll put your contact information in the chat as well. A couple things. How many days does it take to replace the whole thing? I'm assuming going back to sewer laterals.
Getting the replacement done?
Yeah.
They can do it in a couple days. It doesn't take long.
Okay. And then when you were showing the curvy line on top of the mountain, there was a question of can you abandon that and put a new route and like a new pathway in?
That would be up to the contractor, but I mean, I'm guessing if they built it that way, there was a reason for that. So maybe no, maybe yes. That would be something to discuss with the contractor when he's on site and he's looking at everything. When we have a sewer lateral like that, there's going to be a lot of factors that go into that lateral in terms of the soils, the ground, what's in it, what's around it. There's going to be a lot of factors when you have a really long lateral like that. And like I said, you're going to encounter that in those hillside homes in Morgan Hill, some of the really nice ones up there at the back there. That's where you're going to encounter those types of laterals. Most laterals are just going to be a straight shot from the house to the street. And they're going to be 50 feet, maybe 75 feet long. That's the majority of what we're going to see out there.
And then the last question that I have on here is from your house to the sidewalk. Is it to the start of the sidewalk or the sidewalk that hits the curb into the street that you're responsible for?
Now, most cities, you're responsible for the whole thing, start to finish. Even if it's underneath the street, you're still responsible for it. That's going to be the majority. Out in Sacramento, out in Central Valley, like I was saying, it's up to where your property line ends. So whatever is in the county records is your property line. That's what you're responsible for.
That was it online.
That's it? Okay. So I mean, that's about all I have covered. It's a lot of information. I know. It's all readily available online too. Most of these cities have great websites set up with the information on how to do it. So if you forget or you want to brush up on it because you're now finally selling a house in San Mateo, just head to their website. They will walk you through it. You can also talk to our sewer lateral inspectors in the field when you do schedule an inspection. They're familiar with what is required. Now, it is new to a lot of us too. So there's some of us, they may not have the question, but we will always find out for you. Okay. So any other questions before I end off? And we're done. Yep. To the office. Just call the 855-331-1900. That's the home guard number. You can ask for me. I can answer questions. Anton can answer questions. We also have some other managers, Curtis and Dave, who can also answer questions if I'm not available. So there's plenty of people who can get your questions answered if you have any. Another question.
Just curious, as your turnaround time for if you receive a phone call to go out there and inspect, how many days out are you?
For sewer lateral, I mean, we're pretty much right now. It really got slammed this past week just because the ordinance went live. So my guy is pretty much down in Morgan Hill full time all week. He's booked out the whole week. But I mean, like Monday, there's openings. So that's a couple days at this point. We have more sewer lateral inspectors in training. So that's going to kind of ease up there. So usually it's a couple days. Reports are given out that by the end of the next business day, you'll get a report. That report will tell you all the defects noted and if it's a pass or fail. Okay. If there may not be a bid in there right away though, the bid can sometimes take a couple days to get because there's a lot of, it's kind of like the drywood termite fume, right? Measurements have to be done. Things have to be looked at. We have to look at the landscaping features, things like that to get you that bid. So the bid could take maybe a day or two longer from the report. Okay. And then in terms of the city form, we're getting those back within a couple days as well to you. So you can get that submitted because we fill them out and we send them to you to send in the city, unless you're San Mateo or you're Santa Cruz. If you're one of those cities, we have to send it directly to the city. So we don't give it to you, we send it directly to them. And that's them forcing us to do that. Okay. So otherwise we will give the report to you and you can take it to the city. Okay.
And if you are giving us a bid and we decide we also want to get the second bid for the entire project, just in case, is there an extra charge for that?
No, just call our repairs department. Just call Home Guard, ask for the repairs department, say you have your sewer lateral report, you had a bid for this amount, you'd like to get a bid on full replacement, and my repairs manager, Walter, will get that for you and get that to you.
You mentioned it that you need to have the city inspector out during the inspection. Will you guys be the one that coordinating with the city inspector or scheduling that? Or the homeowners will have to schedule that because
Homeowners need to schedule that.
okay.
Because a lot of those cases, you have to fill out an application form and pay a fee. So that's why the homeowner needs to schedule that. So schedule that first, then call us to schedule the inspection. It's probably the best way to do that because I doubt they're going to schedule next day. The cities are never quick on these things. Unfortunately, they're always kind of a pain in the butt to deal with, as we all know when dealing with permits.
What is the fee for the re-inspection? So after you've had the repairs done, when you guys come back out and do the re-inspection?
It's $195.
$195.
Standard $195. That's what we charge for all our re-inspections, no matter your inspection. And now if we do run into a situation where there was a blockage in the pipe, we could not inspect the entire pipe. There's no additional charge to come back and finish that up. Once that blockage has been taken care of, we will come back. Or if you had no clean out, which happens quite often, there's no clean out, we can't do the inspection. Get that clean out installed. We'll come back, no additional charge, and we'll look at it for you. We'll even give you a price to install a clean out. So we're going to give you a bid on that. Or we can pull a toilet. So we can attempt to get into the sewer lateral by taking the toilet off, and we will remove the toilet ourselves and we'll put it back. Or if you want to remove the toilet yourself and save yourself the money on that, you could do that as well. And then we'll just check it. Now, little warning about the toilets. So far, the success rate on going from the toilet to the pipeline, Yeah, it's about 60%, 50 to 60%, because we do have a lot of bends underneath our house, right? That plumbing underneath the house does make a lot of bends before it gets out. And so if we have too many bends in the pipe, like a 90-degree angle, that's what I mean by bend, or a 45-degree angle, too many of those put a lot of strain on that, on the line, the camera that we're pushing out, and it could get stuck. So if there's too much strain, the sewer inspector is going to be, I can't push it anymore. I don't want to get it stuck. And he's going to abandon the inspection at that point, pull it back, let you know, and then you really got to install a cleanup. Okay. Any other questions?
So it depends then, if
Prep
you have a
work, that's
clean
good
out or
question.
not.
Is there any real prep work? Not really. Just know where your clean out is and make sure, you know, one thing you could do to save time for us and yourself as well is be aware, do you have a clean out? A sewer lateral clean out on your property that is accessible? Because if you don't, you could call us ahead and say, hey, I don't have a clean out. Can you guys just pull the toilet? We'll know to do that from the get-go. Or you can arrange to have someone pull the toilet for you. Or we can even give you a price to install a clean out. Now, keep in mind, if it's in Morgan Hill, you're going to have to install that clean out. The city is going to make you, absolutely make you install that clean out. So you're going to need that price regardless. And the homeowner is going to have to do that. You won't even be able to I don't even think you can transfer that over to the buyer because no inspection is done at that point. So keep in mind on that. Again, prices for cleanouts can go from $3,000 to $5,000 depending on the situation with the house. Okay, so absolutely mandatory to have a clean out. If not, we can attempt with the toilets $300 extra or $350 extra, sorry, for that, to pull that toilet. And that's our guy taking the toilet off, putting the toilet back with a new wax seal, new rubber seal, all that stuff. We don't use the old seal. You can't do that. So, and we'll re-caulk it with some caulking and stuff like that, screw it all back up.
So
Okay?
Travis,
Yeah.
as far as pulling the toilet, what if it's a non-low flow toilet?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
If it's a non-low flow toilet, we cannot put it back.
Yeah.
We are not technically allowed to put it back. We have to replace it with a 1.28 gallons per flush toilet because then we're doing the work, and by law, we can't put that toilet back. We'll remove it and leave it off for you, and you have no toilet. And if you want, then you can put it back yourself. It's up to you, but we cannot put a non-low flow back.
Yeah,
So
because the city's going to require the low flow.
city's going to require it, and we'll put that in our inspection anyway. Well, you can pay us. We'll put a new toilet on for you too. We'll even install a new toilet for you if you want a new toilet.
How long is the inspection good for? Say we do an inspection right now and we decide not to sell the property for another year. Do we have to get another re-inspection prior to selling?
It's a good question. There isn't anything officially in writing from the city on that I've seen. I mean, our standard as a company is 120 days, 6 months, 4 to 6 months, 6 months on a home inspection, 4 months on the termite. So we would go along with the home inspection standard, 6 months. So if it's been over 6 months, I'd recommend having it updated and having an updated inspection done. Because again, things can change. Conditions can definitely change. Would conditions change overnight? More than likely not. But within 6 months, yeah, conditions can definitely change, especially if there was a rainy season that hit or anything else going on geologically in the area that could cause issues.
So actually, I have a question for you, Travis. I've had other trainings like this. The subject of ADUs comes up a lot. So if somebody's installing an ADU and it's connecting to the main house, how would you go about that?
It depends how they do that ADU. If they have a separate pipe coming from the ADU and then it connects to the lateral, yes, we have to check that.
Mhm.
Okay. And so we'll take a look at that. Sometimes the ADU is connected right to the house. It's underneath, it's part of the plumbing underneath the house. We wouldn't check it. But if the inspector sees a connection to that lateral, another connection coming, they're going to check to see, is that a drainage connection or is that another lateral from the ADU? If it is from the ADU, we're going to inspect it. It's part of the lateral. It's an extension. That lateral is serving multiple buildings, multiple structures. Okay.
I have a question. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great seminar. Thank you. And thank you, Jody, for letting us attend. It seems to me that you can have another schematic with the players and the parties for the construction. And last year, before I knew about you, it took 4 months in Newark on a single family home from the testing to when the concrete, the asphalt was finished. So we had the utility company employees, the building inspector employees in COVID and whatnot, and then the contractor doing the work. And then they rented a backhoe and those people. And so, I mean, there's all these different players. I mean, my customers that were living there, they could do a schematic right now. Of course, it's once in a lifetime. So you mentioned it is 2 days. Each job is 2 days, but it was so spread out and there's so many players. Can you
It could
address
take
that? What do
longer.
you see? What
Yeah.
do you see? What are you seeing in your trade or your?
In term, well, for the plumber to come out and do the work, a lot of the times it's a couple days to get the fix done. Sometimes they can even do it same day, depending on, is it just a spot repair that they just quickly dig up? If it's a full replacement. And like I said, there's a lot of factors that go into it. We have to start digging up the concrete. Do we got to dig up the asphalt? That is going to extend your time. Most of that time, though, is all just bureaucracy and just paperwork and permitting and that goes into it. The contractor itself does the work usually pretty quick. It's just all the added stuff to get compliance with the city. And that's where it's important to know, are these defects in the street or are they on your property? If it's on your property, it's going to be a lot quicker, a lot faster to deal with, less hassle, just a simple permit with the city. If it's in the street, that's where it's going to get complicated. And we do notify you in the report. We tell you where these defects are. Our report has a running log. I can quickly show you here so you can see. So that's a really good question. Where did my report go? Oh, here it is. So this is the log that you're going to see in our report. And this is a running log by distance of where the defects were. So the inspector went in at the clean out located by the house. He pushed that line out all the way to the city main. He goes all the way to the city main. And when he gets to the city main, that's when he starts that video to record. And he pulls back. So he's pulling back. As he's pulling back, he's watching to see for defects. He's dictating on the video what he's seeing. And he stops and he'll take a snapshot of that. So you have a little screenshot of it. And he'll tell you what he sees. I saw an offset. Here's some roots. Here's a collapse in the pipe or a break in the pipe. Okay, he's gonna show you all that so you can see. And then we're gonna write the distance. And this is a distance from clean out to where the defect is. So in this case, on this sample report here, we have 28 feet. At 28 feet, he noticed that the material of the pipe changed. So it went from cast iron to PVC, it changed. So at some work was done on this pipe at some point. That tells us that. That's not necessarily a defect that's gonna fail you. It's just something you should know, that the material has changed. Now at 31 feet, he hit roots. And he puts a little remark in there saying it's a fine roots, less than 20%. That means those roots only blocked, less than 20% of that pipe, okay? And then he keeps going down. He hit a joint offset. And then finally at 43 feet, he hits a break in the pipe. So he's got a broken pipe at 7 to 10 o'clock. We always use the clock reference with a pipe because it's just round. It's like a clock, it's round. So they're going to use the clock reference of where that defect is on the pipe. Okay, so 7 to 10 o'clock, it was over here. He hit that defect. That's where that break is. Okay, and there's going to be pictures. So that's our log. And then underneath that is the findings. So this is the actual written finding of what was seen. So at 43 feet, medium root intrusion was noted inside the pipe, causing less than 50% obstruction of the pipe. Okay, so he's actually going to speak out and say what exactly you found. He'll have reference to pictures for you. And then at the very end, you're going to get a summary. The sewer lateral has failed inspection, requiring a partial replacement in this case. Doesn't need a full replacement, just a partial. We're going to replace it from, looks like here, probably around 28 feet to 43 feet. They're going to replace that whole pipe. and that was $8,000, quoted at $8,000. Okay, and then there's going to be pictures. You can see here. Here's what roots look like in our pipe. So you see that coming in. Now roots, we know with roots, if they're in the pipe, there's a structural defect there also. So not only is there roots there causing an obstruction, there's a crack, there's a break, there's a fracture, or the joint has separated or it's offset. And that is how the roots are getting in. Okay, so we know there's more than just roots going on. So we got more problems there. So usually when you see roots, there's going to be a recommendation for repair or a recommendation for cleaning, which is where they blast the whole pipe with 5,000 to 8,000 PSI of water to knock out all those roots or knock out any sort of obstructions. Okay, and that'll take care of that. And then here's the nice part where we will show you where those obstructions are. We'll take a picture. We're going to put a little cone on there. Our guy goes out and he locates where that break is, because that's a big deal. It's a break. So we're going to locate where that break is. So we're going to take a picture. And in this case, it's in the street. Unfortunately, it's in the street. So there's a little more cost to go into there. Luckily, they're just going to do a spot repair there. They're going to partially replace it. So they're going to use the trenchless equipment. They don't have to dig up that street to do this. So that's how that cost stayed a lot lower on this house, because they just use the trenchless on this one. Okay, so we'll show you, because we have a nice little device that allows us to locate it. The camera head does emit a radio signal. We have a device to locate that radio signal so we can find where that pipe break is. Okay, so hopefully that answered your question there.
So it looks like we're running a little low on time. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to email me. I do have a couple.
I know it's a lot.
Last
of
missed so
questions.
much, right? But yeah, definitely email me, or Travis, you want to give them your email?
Yeah, my email is simply it's my first initial Travis, my last name PALSER @homeguard.com. Very easy. You can also look me up on the website there, and all my contact info is there on our HomeGuard website if you forget. And I'm always free to answer questions and do my best of what I can to help you guys out, so you're informed. You can keep your clients informed as well. Okay.
All right. So my email is anuyen, ANGUYEN @homeguard.com. If I don't have the answers, I'm going to ask this guy anyway. So definitely take care of you guys for that. Couple of little things before I let you guys go here. If you have any issues with your maybe future sewer lateral inspections, your local water company does have an insurance. I know that I went through this. My mother did have to replace certain portions of her sewer lateral, costed her $7,000. Not too bad for the city of San Jose. But at the same time, because she had been paying for this insurance, and I don't know how she got into it, she just said, I paid for it, so let's see what happens. They actually credited her back $3,500. So the initial thing is you pay the full amount, the city gives you a credit. And then also talk to your home warranty company. Some home warranties will actually have a policy plan or an option to mitigate some of these costs. So if you have any questions on that, Savannah back there is a great resource. Hi, Savannah. All right, so given all that, we're gonna hang around for a little bit. If you have any questions, we can do one-on-one. Thank you everybody for joining us, especially people who are here. Grab some snacks on the way out. For the people who are online, thank you for joining us as well. And hopefully you guys learned something today.
Thank you so much.
All right.